Welcome to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Now we got our 2017 Pacifica in the shop, got the wheels off, ready to do a brake inspection. I know it sounds a little funny doing a brake inspection, but this thing's got 25,000 miles and it's used in severe duty. I'm talking about stop and go traffic a lot, especially with 25,000 miles on it. Now when we're dealing with brakes on this Pacifica, new rules apply. Well, what do I mean by that? A lot of vehicles today have an electronic parking brake. Well, you push the button, it electronically actuates and holds the brakes. That's exactly what it does, just like the old pedal used to use, but it does it electronically. So, you know, we can handle the fronts no problem, but when we get to the rears, we have a little bit of a problem. And the problem is we have to do some service work prior to actually doing any of this disassembly. And the first thing to do is identify what system you have. Now, you can have two types of system. GM likes to use these ones right here. This is a whole module, and what this does, it actually connects to a cable, and the cable goes around and it pulls the e-brake just like you used to do with your foot, but it's doing electronically via this computer right here. Now on our Pacifica, whole other ball game. We're talking about an electric motor right here attached to the caliper. Number one, supplied electrically, but number two, I can't go servicing this until I put it in service mode. And if you push in on this piston, you're wiping it out right off the bat. So we're gonna have to put our Pacifica in service mode before we do anything to the back. And while I do that, you know, Brian's doing a brake inspection right now in the rear of the vehicle. I'll get ready to put it in service mode. Let's check in with him and see how the inspection's coming along.
Well, we've done a visual inspection at the other three corners of the vehicle. We've checked rotor thickness. We've looked at the pad condition. They're all pretty good. Now, the owner of this vehicle told us that the groaning sound was coming, what he believed, from the back of the vehicle. So as I look at this and I check for rotor thickness here to see if it's in spec as well, and it is, just like the other corners, I don't think the rotors are the issue. I think we've got some kind of a glazing on these pads. Severe duty driving, that can absolutely happen. But John talked about the electronic e-brake and service mode. Here's why that matters. If at this point we followed a regular brake replacement procedure, we'd be taking these caliper mounting bolts out back here, we'd hang our caliper up with a bungee cord, and we'd do the service. The reason that's a problem, because this vehicle has an electronic emergency brake system, the computer's constantly wanting that caliper piston to be in the home position. And so randomly, with that hanging up there, it could actuate that caliper piston. If my finger's in the way, that's going to be a problem. At the very least, it's going to break something in that caliper. So we've got to get it in service mode. The other thing that could happen, John mentioned this, we take the caliper off, and if we're not in service mode, I go to compress that caliper piston, I'm absolutely going to do damage to this caliper. So we've got to get it in service mode before we proceed at all. We said new rules apply, and they do. So John's up in the cab. You can do this in your driveway, especially on a Chrysler vehicle. It's a Uconnect system. Very easy to put it into service mode. Hey, John, you all ready?
Well, when you're putting it into service mode, you may have to do several different options. You can use a scan tool on some vehicles. That's the only way to do it. Some you may have to go through a procedure with the e-brake or the lever. You know, just look in the service manual, give you a good heads up on how to do it. This one's super simple because it's a Pacifica and it goes through the Uconnect. And you can look at this graphic right here, and it tells you to go through the EVIC, the Electronic Vehicle Instrument Cluster, and that's the Uconnect system. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty easy to do. I'll show you how to do it. Now, you can do this so you can get out there and just service the rear brakes. It doesn't make any difference if it's electronic or not once it's in service mode. So I'm going to go ahead. It tells you first of all to push the ignition button. Well, that's the first position. I want to go ahead and I want to do it one more time so I can get the car up to where it's actually in the run position but not starting. Once it's in the run position, our Uconnect's loading and everything's getting into the system. That's what we're going to go through to actually retract that caliper back and get it out of the way. I'm going to accept that, and then it's really pretty simple. Once I go in there, I can go into settings, and when I go into settings, you can see down there, you see brakes. You can scroll down if you want to, but I can just click brakes. It's just that easy. Now I got auto parking brake, I can check that, or service mode. Remember, we're going into service mode. Watch this, this is really cool. I'm going to press service mode, and when I do it, listen, you should be able to hear that caliper actually retract. It takes a couple seconds and it's walking it back. I'll show you after break what it's actually doing. It's really cool. We got a cutaway to show you, but let me push that. It says here, do you want to retract it for service? Yeah, we want Brian down there to service. So simply just put yes and listen. Now you heard that? It actually ran them back. It says parking brake retracted. To reset, put it back, push the switch on. We'll do that when we're done. Well, we got it retracted, but it's always safe to disconnect the negative battery cable. Well, Brian's down there ready to do the brake job. We want to catch up with him, but we're going to take a short break, so stick around. There's more Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com.